Gentlemen, for many men, those natural morning erections begin to fade after 50, and with them goes energy, confidence, and a quiet sense of masculinity. But the truth is, your body is still capable of strong, reliable mornings if you give it the right support. And what if I told you that the most powerful thing you could do for your morning erections has nothing to do with what you eat for breakfast and everything to do with adding the right natural powders to your nightly routine? I'm Dr. Lila Romano, a urologist with over 10 years of clinical experience, and I want to share with you 4 natural powders that you can take before bed to help fuel testosterone, boost circulation, and wake up with stronger, more reliable morning erections. These powders are safe, natural, affordable, and easy to add to your nightly routine. And stay with me until the end, because the 4th powder is the one most men have never heard of. And based on what I see in clinical research, it may be the most powerful of all. But before we get into the powders themselves, I need you to understand something important, something that most men completely overlook. And once you understand it, the reason these powders work and why timing matters so much will make complete sense. But first, let's talk about why morning erections matter in the first place. Because a lot of men think of them as just a random, slightly embarrassing bodily function. They're not. In urology, we actually pay very close attention to morning erections. They are one of the most reliable, non-invasive indicators of a man's vascular health, hormonal status, and neurological function all at once. Think of them as your body's daily health report. When blood vessels are flexible and open, when circulation is strong and reaches every region of the body, when testosterone is active and properly regulated, you wake up with firm, reliable erections. When those systems start to break down, the mornings go quiet. And that quiet, that is your body sending you a signal. I know how frustrating this can be. I've sat across from hundreds of men in my clinic who describe the same experience. They wake up one day and realize something has changed. The mornings that used to be almost guaranteed are now unpredictable or absent entirely, and they don't know why, because nothing feels dramatically different. They're not sick, they're not in pain, they just notice the silence. Now here's the truth no one tells you. This doesn't happen overnight, and it is rarely caused by just one thing. After the age of 50, testosterone levels naturally decline by approximately 1% per year. Nitric oxide production, the compound your blood vessels depend on to relax and expand, drops by nearly 50%. And sleep quality, which is the single most important window for hormonal repair, becomes lighter and more fragmented with age. These 3 things, declining testosterone, falling nitric oxide, and poor sleep, feed into each other in a cycle. And together, they gradually erode the physiological foundation that morning erections are built on. But here is what I want you to hear clearly. This is not permanent. Biology can be influenced, and the hours between roughly 10 at night and 3 in the morning are when your body does its most concentrated hormonal repair work. Your pituitary gland signals testosterone production. Your blood vessels undergo repair and restoration. Your nervous system resets. That nighttime window is extraordinarily powerful if you give your body the right support going into it. And that is exactly what these 4 powders are designed to do. Gentlemen, I know exactly what you are thinking right now. Dr. Lila, just tell me what the powders are. And I hear you. I am getting there. But stay with me for just one more moment. Because if you have ever tried something that promised results and delivered nothing, this is the part that explains exactly why those things failed and why this is different. A landmark study published in the journal Biological Trace Element Research found that men who supplemented with the right compound before bed saw their testosterone rise by 24% in just 4 weeks. Not months, 4 weeks. And here is why that timing matters so much. Research consistently shows that approximately 90% of a man's daily testosterone is produced at night during the deepest stages of sleep. The 60 minutes before you close your eyes is the single most important nutritional window of your entire day. Most men are completely wasting it. I had a patient, 58 years old, healthy, no major medications, frustrated and flat. Testosterone in that low normal zone most doctors wave away. Weak mornings, fading energy. We built a simple nightly protocol using exactly 4 powders I am about to share. 8 weeks later, he walked back through my door and said, before I even opened his chart, "Doc, I feel like myself again." That is what working with your biology instead of against it looks like. Now, let's get into the powders. The first powder, and I consider this the anchor of the entire nighttime stack, is magnesium glycinate. Most men over 50 are deficient in magnesium, and most of them have no idea. In fact, studies suggest that over 50% of adults in the United States do not get adequate magnesium from diet alone. And this deficiency is silently working against your testosterone, your sleep, and your vascular health all at the same time. Here is how magnesium works in the body and why it is so critical for what we're trying to accomplish. Magnesium is involved in over 300 biochemical reactions, but for our purposes, the most important ones are these. First, magnesium lowers a protein in your blood called sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG. Think of SHBG as a cage. It binds to testosterone and renders it inactive. Your body cannot use the testosterone that is locked inside it. When magnesium is present in adequate amounts, it reduces SHBG, which frees up more bioavailable testosterone. The testosterone was there all along. Magnesium simply unlocks it. Second, magnesium is directly involved in the function of Leydig cells, the cells in your testes that are responsible for producing testosterone. Without sufficient magnesium, those cells cannot perform their job efficiently. It is like trying to run a factory with the power turned down. Third, and this is why nighttime dosing is so important, magnesium promotes deep, slow-wave sleep. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest side of your nervous system, and it helps regulate melatonin, your body's natural sleep signal. Deeper sleep means longer, more productive REM cycles, and longer REM cycles mean more testosterone produced overnight. The specific form matters enormously here. I recommend magnesium glycinate, not magnesium oxide, which has poor absorption and can cause digestive upset, and not magnesium citrate, which is better but still more likely to cause loose stools at higher doses. Glycinate is bound to the amino acid glycine, which improves absorption and has its own calming, sleep-supportive properties. It is the gentlest and most effective form for this purpose. The dose is 200 to 250 milligrams, taken 30 to 60 minutes before bed. You can find magnesium glycinate powder at any health food store or online. Dissolve it in a small glass of warm water or stir it into a chamomile tea. It dissolves easily and has a mild, slightly mineral taste that most men find completely tolerable. This is your foundation. This is what the other 3 powders build on. Now, the second powder is one you may have heard of, but probably not in this context. It is beetroot powder. Beets may look like a humble root vegetable, but inside them is one of the richest concentrations of dietary nitrates found in any food on Earth. And those nitrates are the key to everything we're talking about when it comes to circulation and morning firmness. Here is the mechanism. When you consume dietary nitrates, your body converts them into nitric oxide, and nitric oxide is the very compound that tells your blood vessels to relax and expand. When blood vessels are open and flexible, blood flows freely, oxygen reaches its destination, and every tissue in your body, including the erectile tissue in the pelvic region, receives the circulation it needs to function properly. Without sufficient nitric oxide, achieving firmness is physiologically very difficult, regardless of how much desire you feel. The mechanics simply aren't there. Here's the problem. After age 50, nitric oxide production in the body drops by roughly half. Half. That is a dramatic decline, and it explains why so many men notice a change in firmness and response as they get older, even when desire is still present. The signal is there. The blood flow is not keeping up. By taking beetroot powder in the evening, you are giving your body the raw material it needs to fuel nitric oxide production during the night. And that nighttime endo matters more than most people realize. Your cardiovascular system undergoes active repair and restoration during sleep, rebuilding the inner lining of blood vessels, improving their elasticity, regulating blood pressure. When you prime your system with beetroot before bed, you are essentially supplying the fuel for that overnight vascular maintenance. And by morning, the difference in blood flow can be remarkable. Men who use beetroot powder consistently often describe stronger, fuller erections in the morning, better stamina during the day, and sometimes a noticeable improvement in blood pressure readings at their next checkup. The cardiovascular and reproductive benefits here are deeply connected. The dose is simple: 1 teaspoon, approximately 5 to 6 grams, stirred into a glass of warm water or an herbal tea before bed. If the earthy taste is a barrier, a small squeeze of fresh lemon juice makes it significantly more pleasant and actually enhances the conversion of nitrates to nitric oxide. Beetroot powder is widely available, inexpensive, and one of the most well-researched natural compounds for vascular health in existence. Now, here is where it gets interesting, because the third powder addresses something that silently sabotages testosterone in almost every man over 50, and most men never connect it to their morning performance. That powder is ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an adaptogenic herb with roots in Ayurvedic medicine going back thousands of years. But don't let ancient history fool you into thinking this is folklore. The modern clinical research on ashwagandha is genuinely impressive, and it directly applies to what we're trying to accomplish here. Here is the core mechanism. Cortisol and testosterone are in direct biological competition. When cortisol goes up, testosterone goes down. It is not a coincidence, it is biochemistry. Your body interprets high cortisol as a stress signal, and in a state of stress, reproductive hormones are deprioritized. Your body is essentially saying, this is not a safe time to focus on vitality. Survival comes first. The problem is that modern life keeps cortisol chronically elevated long past the point where it's useful. Work stress, financial pressure, disrupted sleep, poor diet, all of it keeps the cortisol dial turned up. And as long as cortisol stays high, testosterone stays suppressed. Ashwagandha directly targets this. A study published in the journal Medicine in 2019 found that men taking 600 milligrams of ashwagandha root extract daily experienced a 14.7% increase in testosterone levels, along with significantly improved scores on measures of sexual function, energy, and well-being. The mechanism is straightforward. Ashwagandha reduces cortisol, calms the nervous system, and creates the internal hormonal environment that allows testosterone to rise and stabilize. Taken before bed, ashwagandha does something particularly valuable. It lowers cortisol during the transition into sleep, which is exactly when you need it lowest. High cortisol at night does two damaging things. It delays the onset of deep sleep, and it directly suppresses the testosterone production that should be happening during those early morning hours. By bringing cortisol down before you fall asleep, ashwagandha clears the path for your body to do its hormonal repair work uninterrupted. The form I recommend is KSM 66. It is the most extensively studied and clinically validated ashwagandha extract, standardized for consistent potency. The dose is 300 to 600 milligrams, taken 45 to 60 minutes before bed in warm milk or a kamo tea. It has a slightly earthy, mildly bitter taste. A small amount of honey and cinnamon makes it genuinely pleasant and adds their own mild supportive benefits. With regular use, men typically notice not only stronger morning response, but calmer evenings, deeper sleep, better mood, and improved recovery. The cortisol reduction alone makes a meaningful difference in daily quality of life. And now, the fourth powder, the one I teased at the beginning. It is maca root powder. And I know some of you are already familiar with maca, but I want to explain it the right way because it is frequently misunderstood, and that misunderstanding leads men to either use it incorrectly or dismiss it when they don't get the results they expected. Maca grows at altitude of up to 14,000 feet in the Andes Mountains of Peru, an environment so harsh, so depleted of oxygen, so extreme in temperature and soil conditions that almost nothing else survives there. That environment forces the plant to concentrate an extraordinary density of nutrients and unique bioactive compounds. It contains 19 amino acids, vitamin C and E, calcium, zinc, iron, magnesium, and a family of compounds called macamides and macasins that are found nowhere else in nature. Here is what makes maca genuinely special for men. It does not contain hormones. It does not directly raise testosterone the way some people believe. What it does is more sophisticated and ultimately more sustainable. Maca acts on the hypothalamic pituitary axis, the master control center of your entire hormonal system, located in your brain. By supporting this signaling system, maca helps your body regulate and optimize the hormones it already produces. It does not force your endocrine system in any direction. It helps it find its own optimal balance. And for men over 50 whose hormonal regulation has become less efficient, that support is enormously valuable. But here is what men actually feel most clearly from maca, and it is backed by research. A study published in 2009 found that men taking 2.4 grams of maca daily for 12 weeks reported significant improvements in sexual desire and performance, not just mild improvements, significant ones. Men in the study described a return of spontaneous desire that they had not felt in years. The researchers identified this as a direct effect on libido, separate from testosterone levels, suggesting maca activates desire pathways through mechanisms that go beyond simple hormone adjustment. For men who still feel some desire but notice that the response in the mornings is weaker or less frequent, maca is often the ingredient that reignites the signal. Think of testosterone as the fuel and maca as the spark. The form I recommend is gelatinized maca powder, the cooked, processed form, because it removes the raw starch, making it significantly easier on the digestive system and more bioavailable. For flavor and function, yellow maca is the mildest and most versatile. Black maca is considered strongest for energy and stamina, if that is a primary concern. The dose is 1 level teaspoon, approximately 2 to 3 grams, dissolved in warm water or a calming nighttime tea. It has a pleasant, slightly nutty, almost butterscotch-like flavor that blends naturally with honey or cinnamon. Now here is where everything changes, because knowing about these 4 powders individually is one thing, but there is a very specific way to combine them, a specific order, a specific temperature, a specific timing window that determines whether you get average results or remarkable ones. Most men get this part wrong. Let me show you how to get it right. About 60 minutes before you plan to go to sleep, prepare what I call the nightly recovery blend. Start with a mug of warm water or your preferred herbal tea. Chamomile and passion flower are particularly good choices because they have their own mild sleep-supportive properties. Into that mug, add 200 to 250 milligrams of magnesium glycinate powder. Then add 1 teaspoon of beetroot powder. Then stir in 300 to 600 milligrams of Ashwagandha KSM66 extract. And finally, add 1 level teaspoon of gelatinized maca powder. Stir thoroughly until everything dissolves. Add a small drizzle of raw honey and a pinch of cinnamon if you want to improve the flavor and add their own mild circulation-supporting benefits. Drink it slowly and calmly, without screens or stimulation, as part of a genuine wind-down ritual. The timing of that 60-minute window before sleep is not arbitrary. It gives the magnesium time to begin activating your parasympathetic nervous system. It allows the ashwagandha to begin lowering cortisol before your head hits the pillow. It gives the nitrates in the beetroot time to begin converting to nitric oxide in your system, and it allows the maca to begin its gentle signaling work before your hormonal processes kick into their deepest phase overnight. Pair this with one other critical habit: a consistent sleep schedule. Going to bed and waking at the same time every day, even on weekends, dramatically amplifies the hormonal benefits of everything I just described. Your body produces testosterone in predictable, timed cycles during sleep. Irregular schedules disrupt those cycles. Consistency protects them. Gentlemen, I am going to pause here for just a moment. I know you want to jump straight to the results timeline, and we are almost there. But in over 10 years of urology practice, the one thing I have learned is that the men who get the best results are not just the ones who follow the protocol. They are the ones who follow it safely. So before we go any further, here is what you need to know. If you are currently taking blood thinners, such as warfarin or daily aspirin, speak with your doctor before adding beetroot powder or maca to your routine. Both can have mild blood thinning effects, and stacking them with anticoagulant medication requires medical oversight. If you are on thyroid medication or immunosuppressants, be aware that ashwagandha can interact with thyroid hormone levels and immune function. It is not contraindicated for most men, but it warrants a conversation with your prescribing physician first. If you experience digestive discomfort from any of these powders, reduce your dose by half and build back up gradually over 1 to 2 weeks. The magnesium, in particular, can cause loose stools if the dose is too high for your system. Start at 200 milligrams and only increase if you tolerate it well. One more thing. Beetroot can cause your urine or stool to appear red or pink. I want you to know that in advance so you are not alarmed. It is completely harmless and temporary. It simply means the pigments from the beet are passing through your system. And if you have cardiovascular disease, diabetes, or are currently taking prescription medication for erectile dysfunction, please have a conversation with your urologist before starting this protocol. These powders are not a replacement for medical treatment. They are a natural support system that works best as part of a comprehensive approach to men's health. And now for the part every man in this video has been waiting for. What is actually going to happen to your body, and exactly when? So here is your roadmap. In the first week, do not look for dramatic changes. What you will notice is subtler, but it is real. Deeper, more restful sleep, a calmer nervous system in the evenings, mornings where you wake up feeling genuinely rested rather than just less tired. That is the magnesium and ashwagandha doing their foundational work. Your cortisol is coming down. Your sleep architecture is improving. The stage is being set. By weeks 2 to 4, the changes become physical and undeniable. More frequent morning response, firmer, fuller results, stronger desire returning in a way that feels natural rather than forced. This is when the beetroot and maca have reached consistent levels in your system and are producing their full effect. Many men describe this phase as the moment they start to feel like themselves again. Between 8 and 12 weeks, this is where the real transformation happens. Stronger and more reliable mornings, better stamina, sharper mood, and a quiet but powerful confidence that comes from knowing your body is working with you again. The men in my practice who reach this stage consistently tell me the same thing. They wish they had started sooner. Here is the one thing I need you to hold on to through all of it. Consistency is everything. Your body did not change overnight. It will not fully recover overnight either. But give it the right support at the right time every single night, and it will respond. I have seen it happen too many times to doubt it. Gentlemen, so here is my challenge for you. Commit to this nightly protocol for 30 days. Mix the powders, take them consistently, protect your sleep, and let your body do its work. 30 days. That is all I am asking. And I am confident that by the end of those 30 days, you will not need me to tell you it is working, because your mornings will tell you themselves. Now, if you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button for more natural, doctor-backed guidance on men's health after 50. And share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone you care about is hand them information that could genuinely change their life. This is Dr. Lila Romano. I'll see you in the next video.